Hello and welcome to In the Bunch, the world's fastest moving cycling magazine show. And what a fantastic time we're having at this time on the 101st renewal of the Giro d'Italia, the world's second biggest bike race, but maybe the most exciting by a darn long way. Dimension data for Quebec-wise, South Africa's Ryan Gibbons has been the man of their match so far, been knocking on the door of the podium, just not been there. But a big future is expected from this young star. In the race for the Maglia Rosa, the overall victory, Simon Yates, the young Brit, 25 years old, grabbed that coveted leadership icon from Tom Dumoulin, defending champion soon after the prologue, and has worn it all the way through the race. They speculated that he might crack in the big climbs, turned the tables, won 3 stages on the second week of the race. Then, of course, the time trial. The Tuesday was always going to be the tipping point. What a huge battle ensued there. South Africa's young Morne van Niekerk, a rider who rode for many years domestically, travelled a couple of times abroad. He's based in France at the moment. After several podiums, has won an event there. He makes no bones about it, though, that it's a tough mission to base yourself internationally as a young South African rider.
Honestly, it's been really tough. Struggling with visa issues, and that you need to get a team that's willing to help you with your visas. And also, it's not cheap to come here. It takes a lot, and the difference in the culture, the difference in the language, it's everything or nothing's ever simple. The easiest thing to do is to go ride your bike.
We asked Morne how it differed racing in Europe to racing in South Africa.
Longer, faster, harder. You really need to be intelligent, because there's a lot more riders that pitch up at the start line that can win the race. It's not the normal 15 selection every time. Every time it's new riders, it's a new challenge, it's a new circuit. You go, just in my region, you can go from a flat race to a race that finishes on a 5k mountain.
Yeah, I think that's a fact, Morne van Niekerk. Absolutely tougher, longer and much harder it is. But women's prize money has long been a bone of contention in South African cycling. Should it be equal? Should it be more? Should it be greater? Well, Rowan Rousseau of the Beshoek Extreme Festival has his own thoughts on that. Decided to pay the women more at his event than he was paying the men's winner. His thoughts on that one.
We do not believe, neither Beshoek Extreme nor our sponsor Navworld believes that it's better to offer any of the genders more prize money. I think the objective here was to drive awareness and to stimulate communication and dialogue around the inequalities that existed in the past and that still exist.
Really interesting points there, but none the better to approach for her thoughts on this than the respected and seasoned campaigner for equality in genders in the world of mountain biking, Ariane Lüthi. You remember, a multiple winner of the Cape Epic, and who was known to once boycott a race until they balanced the fiscal scales. Ariane Lüthi.
Yeah, it's a bit of I would say, a marketing gag a little bit. In one sense, I mean, it definitely attracts attention, as we can see now. I was thinking long and hard about it, and I mean, my stand is I'm standing for equality and not putting someone better than the other. So to turn things around, I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's been a very long time where it was always that the men got more money than the women. And you would think, yeah, let's just turn things around and kind of fight back, you know. For me, I really respect the performances of the men, and I wouldn't want it to turn it around. I really just want that the women get the same opportunity as the men. One also has to think, as they mentioned themselves, you know, there's still many more men competing at the moment, which does make it harder to win something. So I see that, and I appreciate the difficulty that it brings in a competition. I know if there's more people fighting for a single track, it is harder to get there, you know. one has to respect that.
Well, it's interesting, the thoughts there of two certain opposites, if not equals, in the world of mountain biking. Interestingly so, though, when you look at horse racing, you bet on the totalizator only pays out 90% perhaps of the bets that were placed on that event. So if the women's field is smaller than the men, should they get the same prize or a proportionate prize to their entry numbers? Well, what are your thoughts? Should it be equal, unequal, opposite? Please let us know in the link below, in the comments. Let us know whether you think it should be equal or the other way, but it's money, money for all. And rolling in the Zion 2018, a man with a potential tax problem this year, Nico Bell, after 3 magnificent victories. Joburg to see, Sani to see, and the opener in the Trailseeker series. A wonderful season for the man from Mpumalanga, Nico Bell.
Preparation for 2018 started 1st of December 2017, and pretty much we started Mpumalanga Road Tour, which is a good tour to do. So as a team we're quite strong there, but all training for Cape Epic, which is our main goal for the year. But yeah, we had other goals as well, Sani to see being one of them, Job to see that I won with Harvey, Niz and Trailseeker won. The week after the Epic we did the Letaba Extreme as well in Newcastle, and we won the road and the mountain as well. So yeah, we're showing that we're a mountain bike team and a road bike team, and always great for us to win. And obviously yeah, the form is pretty much a little bit of frustration together with a lot of training and hard work.
Nico Bell, at almost 35 years of age, enjoying just about the best form of his entire career, believes that a lot of wisdom comes with all of this experience.
Obviously as a lead rider, some peak a lot earlier in their career. For me, I only started peaking later in my career. Mostly the guys say a peak is from, let's say, 28 to about 32. I'm 34 years old, turning 35 in October. So yeah, obviously for me, I feel I'm stronger now than I was before. You definitely become more wise, you learn from your mistakes, you know how to train. When you're young, you're eager, you overtrain, and you're not sure what to do in the racing. So yeah, a lot of experience together with obviously a lot of hard work and dedication, and obviously the older you get, the more work you have to do. So I definitely put in more work being older, but just to be clever about it and not just train hard because you feel like you can train hard.
Well, just like Nico Bell's dominating the mountain bike scene at this point, the young Gustav Basson, hailing from Pretoria, has hit a couple of Thor-like blows with that magnificently big hammer of his. The recent winner of the inaugural Tour of Limpopo and, of course, the Tour of Durban. Great season that he's enjoying.
Going into Limpopo, Team Protos wanted to try and win the race. Being that it's a UCI 2.2 race, it really meant a lot for the team going forward. And also, if you do win, there's UCI points up for grabs, which help when you want to try go for bigger teams in Europe. If you have enough points, it makes it easier to get into a team in Europe. So that race we targeted, and it's a race we really wanted to win.
Well, huge performances from Gustav Basson, heading up the National Road Cycling Series, right on top of those rankings. But can he hang on to that coveted status?
Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to defend it now that I'm going to Spain for 3 months, and then with racing still here, so there's still points up for grabs. But it's a great innovation, and it gives the guys motivation to be at the races and to do good in each and every race, even after you've done your work for the team. Understandably,
heading up the UCI World Rankings is World Road Race Champion Peter Sagan. That, of course, in spite of not winning a singular stage on the recent Tour of California. Our own Darryl Impey, well, maybe just there, but the Tour Down Under enough to keep him in the top 10 even at this point of the season. Support SA Talent has brought about this similar to the UCI South African ranking system, and of course brand ambassador Miles van Musschenbroek explained to us exactly how this came about and how it's all done and run.
Races have been selected off of the CSA sanctioned road event calendar. The events have been selected based on the popularity of the event as well as the attendance of the professional riders and teams. The series has been divided up into 3 components, the first one being the one-day classics, the second one being the tours, and then the third one being the South African National Road Cycling Championships. We've molded the point system around the UCI points framework. We've also taken each event and ranked them in a similar way. For example, the Limpopo Tour and the Mpumalanga Tour had slightly more points allocated to those races.
Well, it's your turn to talk to us for a change. In fact, take a look right now in the comments below and tell us whether you think the South African road cycling rankings are a perfectly fair reflection of where and who the riders are topping the boards at this time of the season. Your simple answer of yes or no and why would be greatly appreciated. Elle champion féminine Il Maurice, Mademoiselle Kim Lecoq has had 4 fantastic wins this season in a row. That is the Cape Town Cycle Tour, the Empress Palace, the Tour of Durban, and now the 100 Cycle. A brilliant season she's enjoying. And let's hear why she's having such a bumper season at this time of the year.
Yeah, it is quite cool to get 4 wins in a row. I wasn't really expecting it, but then because at the beginning of the year I wasn't too fit. I took too much of a holiday break. But yeah, then I kind of got my feet and started training seriously again, which is quite good. And once you feel fit, you just don't give up on training and you just carry on. And once you see the results coming in, then you just, it's worth it to train.
Well, it sounded like really bad news for South Africa's road cycling scene when it was initially announced the organisers' decision to call off the Jacques Cycle Tour, a 3-day event preempting the Jacques Classic. That leaves us now on the 14th of July, Bastille Day that is, on the same day that one of the Tour de France stages takes place, to have our own mini Tour de France stage on one day. But we caught up with Fritz Pienaar, the organiser, to find out exactly why the sensible decision was in fact taken.
Jacques' whole identity is around the 1 day 3 stages event, and that's been like that. It's one of the oldest events in the calendar. And the introduction of the Jacques to me diluted the event a bit. They didn't have the same size following as a classic, and we initially planned it on the same date, which meant that we had to split our resources between a 3-day event and a 1-day event. And I just felt that it's a better option to put all the resources into doing the best possible 1-day event.
So the roadies have a lot to look forward to on that middle Saturday of July of this year. About 165 kilometers split up in a couple of stages. But recently, 160 plus kilometers was run as the second renewal of the Swartberg 100 event. 100 miles, that is, just over 165 kilometers from Prince Albert, down Meiringspoor to Oudtshoorn, over Wilgewandel and back over the feared Swartberg Pass, back to the finish, of course, at Prince Albert. John Swanepoel was the man who thought up this whole concept and idea of South Africa's own Gran Fondo. And let's ask him how the thought, idea and concept came about for this event.
Really what inspired me was, the Strade Bianche was probably one of the key races that inspired me to do it. And I looked at kind of what was happening around the world in terms of big rides over difficult terrain. And Gran Fondo seemed to be very common in Europe and actually in the States. And South Africa doesn't really seem to kind of host Gran Fondos when there's like hundreds of them in the United States and in Europe. And really what a Gran Fondo is about is it's Italian for big ride. It always involves around about 180 plus kilometers. And, it's normally quite difficult terrain with a bit of climbing and stuff. So, and it's a ride for everybody.
Neither fish nor fowl, in our opinion. We asked organizer John Swanepoel whether this race lives up to being a road race or mountain bike race or any of those at all.
It's neither. It's more of a road race than it is a mountain bike race. And I kind of like, we're so kind of brainwashed into like we've got to ride on tar on a bike with 25-seat tires, and mix it up and don't go near gravel. And then the mountain bike is you've just got to have like single track built for you. It's just got to be one continuous single track on a 3-day stage race. And that's how we all thinking, and that's what we're all being driven to do. And I go, no. If you look at take a look at some of the pictures of the Tour de France in the early 1900s, and take a look at the conditions that those guys rode in, over those passes. I mean, they're stones the size of your fist that they're riding over.
And what a battle that Swartberg 100 was going to be. It was all David George almost to the very top of that feared Swartberg pass. At that point, a little man with a hammer came, gave him a small knock on the head, and unfortunately made him wobble his way down to third on the podium. It gave the opportunity to Richard Simpson, young rider, to win the biggest race of his career. Wonderful result for him, but Alanda de Villiers, unbelievably 8th overall against the men. That's all comers on that occasion. Great like David George, though, recovers quickly from a little bang on the head, and he was back in the Amarada 100 to stand right on top of the podium, beating this time Harbier Creer. And when you look at that resilience, 42 years old, but with 2 medals from the Commonwealth Games, 1 from the World Championships, and of course multiple national championships, you just don't get him down. However, he was really modest in his victory discussion.
I think equipment choice played a big role in the 100 miler, because I think we were a lot better off on gravel bikes. So there's effort on effort. I'm not sure that if everyone had been on the same bikes, I don't know if the results would have been similar. It's just nice to get out and race, and I'm sort of enjoying the headspace that I'm in and enjoying the gravel.
The medal ceremony, the protocol ceremony of episode many of In the Bunch. What's hot, what's not in the world of In the Bunch, of course, making news, that is. In the third position, bronze medal winner, the Trailseeker Series victory by Nico Bell. In second, Gustav Basson, that fine win in the recent Tour of Durban. And right atop the podium of news in the world of In the Bunch, Nico Bell gets gold this time for his fine victory in the Sani to See mountain bike stage race. If you've enjoyed watching In the Bunch as much as what we've done doing it and making it for you, please don't forget to subscribe to our show and to tap the bell. This is Johnny on behalf of Kutsia Gous and the entire In the Bunch team saying, ciao for now. What? Mr. Producer, sorry, I'm not, no way, I'm not saying that. I quit.